guys, Super Mario Bros. 64 for the N64. One of the N64 launch titles, the first Mario game to move into the 3D realm. One of the first major franchises to move into the 3D realm and do it properly. This was one of the first games on the console to... You know what? This was the first game on console to offer a true 3D world with true 360 analog controls. Now this game came out in June 1996. A lot of people say, well, what about Knights on the Sega Saturn? It came with an analog controller. Knights came out in July of 1996. This came out first. Tomb Raider, November of 1996. A lot of people like to claim Tomb Raider as being the first kind of major popular 3D kind of platform game on the console. Well, Tomb Raider came out in November 1996. This is, like I'm saying, this is one of the first. Now, this was developed by Shigeru Miyamoto, who of course is the brainchild behind pretty much any major Nintendo release. This is a guy that created Mario, Donkey Kong, Zelda, Metroid, all the big games for Nintendo. This game sold 6 million copies, which, considering the Nintendo 64 wasn't a big selling system, that's a big number of games. Basically, anyone who had an N64 had this game. Like I said, its controls were 360 relative to the camera. Unlike Tomb Raider and most 3D games on the console at the time, even if they were third person, up on the control pad was always move your character forward, and left and right would rotate them. That's how Tomb Raider works. Lara Croft just kind of rotates on the spot. On Mario 64, if you hit right, he doesn't rotate right, he just starts walking right. If you hold back, he doesn't walk backwards, he just turns around and starts walking towards the camera. The controls are constantly 360 derived based on the location of the camera. So you can move Mario in absolutely any direction at any speed at any given time. Controls are much more fluid than Tomb Raider's were. Tomb Raider, you were constantly stopping and rotating her, and she would move really clunky. But that's not the point, because this game came out first, and they're not even the same kind of game, but just so many people like to compare them. People forget this game came out first. I mean, June 1996 we're talking here. You gotta remember how long ago that is. This game was revolutionary for the time. Pretty much every reviewer gave this game at least a 9 out of 10. IGN's got it on their list of like top 10 best games of all time. Now once again, this is an emulation. When I've got the real thing, I'm going to use the real thing. So I'm going to pop this in the N64. And away we go.
It's me, Mario.
So here we go, here's the title screen.
Hello.
And a 3D Mario face, which you can play around with, but I'm not going to bother. 4 save slots, built right into the cartridge, no memory card needed. And here we go. As you can see, the game's pretty good looking, and I mean, I have to remind you guys, this is 1996 we're talking about here. Nothing touched this in terms of graphics. Not on the console anyways, sorry. Now I'm just going to kind of show you the precision controls that you can achieve with the analog stick. And I'm going to remind you guys, the PlayStation didn't have analog sticks yet. That's the original PlayStation controller. It didn't get its dual shock and its dual analog controllers till 1997. And the Saturn didn't get it till Knights, which also came out after this. So nothing looked like this, nothing controlled like this. There was no 3D platform games, 360 controls on the console. I mean, this really started the modern 3D world that games live in now. So here's the first level.
Let's go.
It'll take me a minute to get used to the controls here. You can butt stomp stuff somehow. Yeah. And I always thought it was funny that in this one, you can punch little Goombas. Get them all up in here. There you go. You punch them and they just poof. Oh, it's funny. You can still jump on them if you want, but man, it's hilarious to punch them. I mean, I just don't get it. The N64 gets such a bad rap. But I mean, 1996, there was nothing touching this. This was just groundbreaking, revolutionary. The graphics, the controls, everything, the whole style of game. I mean, everyone was just going nuts over this game. You know, when this came out in 1996, and you know, now it's like, oh, the Nintendo 64 was crap. Another, oh, almost fall off there. Another show off the analog precision there, as you can control the exact angle and the exact speed, and just tiptoe your way across and start running again. So here's the first boss. Basically, you just gotta throw him around. Like most Mario bosses, 3 hits, they're done. So I'll just fast forward, and here's our last throw. Pick him up, give him a little throw. So here's the next logical level that you'd be going to. Kind of similar to the first level. Gotta work your way up. And that damn thing just pushed me off. I seem to remember there being something down here, but I can't find it right now. So I'll just work my way back up. Try not to get pushed around by these guys this time. I mean, we take it for granted. I mean, most 3D platform games now are obviously 360 controls, and you know, analog sticks are so common that we've got 2 of them on all our controllers now. But this is where it started. A lot of people too, they complain about the N64 controller. Oh, its analog stick doesn't feel as good as the PlayStation's. Well, guys, once again, it came out a year before PlayStation ever had analog controller, period. I think a lot of the youngins don't remember the original PlayStation controller. They just assume that it always had the dual sticks. But, you know, I remember the original PlayStation controller, and then they came out with the dual analog. It didn't even have the shock, it just had the dual analog sticks on it. And then eventually they came out with the dual shock, you know, a few years later after the system initial release. So I think that's part of the problem too, is they just don't realize. You know, the original PlayStation controller was just a D-pad, you know, just like a Super Nintendo controller with a couple extra L and R triggers. So here's a water level I thought I'd show, just to show something a little different from those first 2 boards. Now when you get the Iron Man Mario, he doesn't float, so he just kind of walks on the bottom of the water, which is kind of neat. And of course I'm invincible right now, so I don't really have to breathe either. Of course, once I get hit, I'm normal Mario again. Now you can see that there's a breath meter, and you can swim around. A lot of exploration in this game, a lot of neat areas. like I said, this was the first in a lot of things, and it's paved the way for 3D games on 3D consoles as we know it now. And, this game deserves all the respect that it got.